Hello, I'm Lance Robertson. Welcome along to Queensland Raceway for round 4 of the 2017 Swann Super Series. It's day 2 of our double-header at the Queensland venue, and yesterday's bikehaggle.com.au Superbikes saw At1 Pro Race Suits Lucas Vitali and Kawasaki Connections Brad Swallow share the honours across the two races. As we take a look at the points heading into round 4, Vitali continues to lead the championship by a slender 10 points ahead of Swallow. Simon Galloway is the leading Yamaha rider in third place, 20 points behind Vitali, with Brendan McIntyre and Dominic De Leon completing the top 5. So, with the riders preparing themselves for race 1, some of the attention will be focused on Simon Galloway. The Yamaha rider is still nursing a badly fractured kneecap, injured prior to the opening event in Sydney. And Becky Lamb caught up with Simon to see how he's managing the injury and how it's affecting his riding.
Let's take us through some of the challenges between the differences of Sydney Motorsport Park in rounds 1 and 2, where you were consistently on the podium, versus rounds 3 at Queensland Raceway, where we haven't seen you on the podium yet. Talk us through it.
Look, purely it's just myself. I'm very unfit. I haven't ridden since the round 1 and 2, so it's been like a 3-month break or something. My leg's still a bit injured. I've got a bit of muscle wastage, so I'm just struggling for strength and fitness, really.
So let's talk about your injury. We had the injury on a dirt bike, and then that was 2 weeks before round 1 and 2. So let's talk about the race fitness, the healing time. Are you going to have an operation? What's your story there?
Yeah, well, I've got to have an operation probably at some point. I've been putting it off, seeing if I can get away with it, but I think doing the activities I do, I think I'm going to have to eventually get it done. But it's 3 months out, and then a lot longer to do sport, and I reckon over 12 months before you forget which leg it is, so not looking forward to it really.
It must sort of struggle with you a little mentally as well when you're out there.
Yeah, definitely. Yesterday when I was a bit behind the boys, and normally I could hunt them down, but the body wouldn't let me. The mind was saying you can do it, but nothing else was happening.
Well, Simon Galloway is a very brave man to be still racing competitively, and not even the excruciating pain that he's currently suffering has been able to slow him down. He and the rest of the bikehaggle.com.au Superbike riders are on the track right now, readying themselves for race 1. So let's have a look at the grid.
Lucas Vitali will start ahead of Brad Swallow, Simon Galloway and Brendan McIntyre.
Yes, Ryan Yanko after some great form in the Pro Twins with Dominic De Leon, Brett Kitchen and Stuart Fritt rounding out row 2.
Row 3 will see Kelvin Riley on the inside of Jean-Gabriel Lane, Tim Griffith and Damien Sutton.
Conker Chorus on his Ducati in front of Hamish McMurray in row 4.
Certainly no lack of talent on display. Red flag is being shown. Riders have completed their combined sighting and warm-up lap. Underway of 9-lap duration. Brad Swallow got a good start, but look at Brendan McIntyre on the Western Motorcycles 7 Friday. Rick Popjoy Racing Suzuki. It might be old, the rider, certainly with experience, and he's made the best of the starts. We heard from him earlier on with Becky Lamb saying how important it was for him to get a good start, but then he undoubtedly gets eaten up by the end of bikehaggle.com.au back straight, and it's come right to bite him on the backside as he goes down into Ipone Oils for the first time. Lucas Vitali leads, McIntyre in second, Swallow in third.
And that's Ryan Yanko on his Ducati moving into 4th spot after a great start there too. The Lance, we haven't seen him that far up in the Superbike class this weekend yet. Simon Galloway's still there as well, and so is Kelvin Riley's up there as well.
I can tell you that a late starter in this one is Brett Kitchen. He's just made his way down pit lane. He'll be joining the race, so he's obviously had some dramas there mechanically, delaying his start, but at least he's out on the circuit. Look at that, talking about getting out nice and wide. Brad Swallow on the Kawasaki Connections ZX-10R, but look at Brendan McIntyre. What a mammoth effort early on in second place.
Well, he did say earlier in an interview with Becky that he was going to go faster in today's racing, and he's definitely showing that at the moment. But you mentioned Brett Kitchen. That's the second race in a row he's done that, Lance. He did that for the Pro Twins as well.
Yes, he certainly did, but he'll be out on the track giving his sponsors all the kudos. He's actually negotiating iPhone oils at the moment as our race leaders are at the other end of the circuit going through Dunlop Sportsmax. Here comes Brad Swallow up the inside now of Brendan McIntyre. So McIntyre, as he said, he's about 20 horsepower short on the Kawasaki's, and it was important for him to get a good start early on, but he's unable to maintain that pace at the top end speed of the circuit.
Oh, he's still getting valuable points here for the championship season there, Lance, and here comes, we'll have a quick look at the overtaking manoeuvre of Brad Swallow. Look at the power advantage you see from that Kawasaki Connections machine. Just blasted past McIntyre's older model Suzuki.
Dominic De Leon on the At1 Pro Race Suits Kawasaki ZX 10R, is of course prepared by BC Performance and Kelvin Riley and his team.
Kelvin's right behind, Dominic there too as well, sitting in 7th spot. Stuart Fripp 8th, Edwards in 9th and Sutton in 10th.
Can you imagine the garage conversations there between the BC Performance, Kelvin Riley and Dominic De Leon? Dominic saying to him, you might be able to prepare the bike for me in fine fashion, but you can't beat me on the track.
Yes, and in his very thick Trinidad and Tobago accent. It's always a very good character to have at the Swann Super Series, Dominic De Leon. But as the races is continuing on, it looks like McIntyre's got the better of as they come around there. He's got the better of Brad Swallow, as I had a quick look there going into Sydney Motorsport Park ride day. So Brad having a bit of a mistake there.
Oh, forcing Brad very wide there. Oh, what a cheeky block pass that was. Well, not a block pass, it was blocking a pass.
Brad Swallow lucky to stay on the machine there, using the... Look at Simon Galloway closing right down as well onto the Kawasaki.
Well, we may have 3 different manufacturers on the podium at the end of this one. It's Kawasaki mounted Vitali ahead of Suzuki mounted McIntyre. Swallow at the moment still on the Kawasaki ahead of the Yamaha of the number 46, the Chris Watson Motorcycles R1. Right behind him, looming up larger than life, trying to get the drive down the back straight, and that is Simon Galloway.
Yeah, it looks like Brad Swallow may be having some tyre issues there, which we saw coming onto the Swann Insurance main straight last time around, losing the grip there and a lot of ground to Brendan McIntyre. And there's the battle further down. Looks like Kelvin Riley's just been overtaken by Matt Edwards as well. Dominic De Leon just in front of them with Damien Sutton and Tim Griffith behind them. But here's Lucas Vitale out in front, coming through Dunlop Sportsmax. Still over 4.5 laps to go in this race. Look at McIntyre, and the battle is raging there between Swallow and Galloway.
Yeah, Swallow is uncharacteristically off the pace a little bit here, Tim. I wonder if he has a minor mechanical drama. Maybe it's a tyre issue with the conservation of tyres in race 1, because they've used them. They only get allocated a certain number of tyres for the race meeting, so they have to be very careful on how they use them.
Yes, it's a lot of strategy involved in that there, Lance. The other riders could maybe use their newer tyres. Brad may be saving his tyres for the later part of the day, but only 3 sets allowed between any of the riders. So you've really got to conserve your tyres. But look, those 2 riders there look like they're closing back down onto Brendan McIntyre. Oh, Brad Swallow's gone wide once again. Lost a lot of ground there. Looks like he couldn't pull the machine up. Remember yesterday, Lance, he had a lot of brake issues with boiling the fluid in the front brakes.
On the way out of the circuit last night, dropped into his pits to have a look at him and say hello and see what the problem was, and you did right. They drained all of the fluid, all of the brake fluid out of the bike, made sure that it was nice and clean, blew the lines, cleaned them out and put new fluid in. Maybe there's a little bit of air locking in there at the moment.
Yes, it's very hard on the brakes is young Brad Swallow, but no answer, these 2 riders for Brendan McIntyre at the moment.
McIntyre, what a mammoth effort this is. A 2012 model Suzuki. He has the latest and greatest in his garage at home, in his workshop, but he hasn't had the ancillary equipment to get it onto the track just yet, meaning fairings, brakes and those sorts of things, some suspension components as well. So you can't underline the effort of him strongly enough. Although coming on in the latter stages of this race, as we're about 2/3 of the way through, Brett Kitchen there on 55, just being overtaken by Lucas Vitali, or will be very shortly.
Yes, and you see that by the first sector time there, 23.7 by Brad Swallow, the fastest of the race so far. So he's definitely come to grips with whatever issues he had, and closing right down onto McIntyre now. There's 11.4 for him, so that's his fastest lap of the race, so right on the back wheel of that Western Motorcycle Suzuki.
The fastest lap may well be with Lucas Vitali, but the closest battle is this for second, third and fourth. It is for the final 2 podium places. A Suzuki against a Kawasaki and a Yamaha still within a chance.
And don't forget Ryan Yanko sitting behind them in 5th spot. But here comes Brad Swallow having a look around the outside of Brendan McIntyre into Ipone Oils. Can he hold the brakes? He has. He looks like he's done it there. That was an unbelievable braking manoeuvre.
There ain't no problem with the brakes on that Kawasaki Connection ZX10R.
Whatever air was in there is gone now, Lance. But look at the gap he's pulled there.
Wow. Yeah, it may well have been just a situation where Brad realises that he's not really going to be able to take it up to Lucas Vitali, so he's just leaving it till a couple of laps to go to be able to get in front of McIntyre. But McIntyre's not over and done with him yet. Kitchen, in the meantime, he's taking the racing line. It's balked Brad Swallow momentarily. Don't think he realised how close he was behind him there. He takes his racing line, and rightfully so. Doesn't balk anybody. Snaps to the inside of the circuit. Brad Swallow there acknowledged that with a right leg kick, saying thank you very much to Brett Kitchen.
Was that thank you very much or get out of the way? I'm not quite sure, but Brad Swallow now is in 2nd spot and holding that lead. But look at that power of that Kawasaki once again, and then Brad Swallow under brakes. Gee, he's strong under brakes.
You just don't do that sort of thing on the outside of that part of the track.
Yes, but he's maintained that corner speed, and that's the main thing, and held out that position in the same part of the track once again. He's gone a little bit wider this time. McIntyre still right there on the Kawasaki's ducktail to get any advantage from any mistake that Brad can make.
A good description of the difference of the lean angle there between the Kawasaki and the Suzuki through Ipone Oils. Now negotiating the 2 left-handers Sydney Motorsport Park ride days. Right behind them, though, Simon Galloway can't really do much about mounting a challenge as they come down to complete lap 8 of 9, the penultimate lap. Look at that, the Suzuki nice and deep, getting a wide drive, a narrow exit. The Kawasaki a little bit squirrely, under power as they get given the last lap call.
Yeah, it looks like McIntyre's machine's set up pretty well. It's handling like a dream there. You can see it's not like it's on rails. Brad Swallow a bit out of shape, but it seems to be at the top end part of the circuit where the Kawasaki really has its advantage.
Well, the Suzuki of Brendan McIntyre, they're always negotiating things with Rick Pobjoy Racing back home in Sydney, and the word was overnight, no need to touch anything with the suspension, and he certainly looks like it's paid dividends for them anyway.
Yeah, Simon Galloway's still right there as well, having a big look up the inside of McIntyre, but not quite close enough as they go through Ipone Oils for the last time. It's going to be a drag race for sure as they get ready to come around Sydney Motorsport Park ride days.
Well, if he keeps it upright, it will certainly be Lucas Vitali's victory on board the At-One Race Suits first place building Kawasaki ZX10R. But look at this 3-way battle as they bring themselves home to the checkered flag. At the moment, it's the Kawasaki Connection ZX10R at Brad Swallow. Look at that Yamaha of Chris Watson Motorcycles mounted Simon Galloway. And right in between them is, of course, the Western Motorcycle 7 Friday, Rick Pobjoy Suzuki, and that's the way they're going to finish. Vitali, Swallow, McIntyre, Galloway. Followed in P5 by Ryan Yanko, Dominic De Leon in 6th, Michael Edwards, Stuart Fripp, Kelvin Riley, and Tim Griffith rounding up the top 10.
Just got to thank the At-One Pro Race Suits team and BC Performance for prepping the bike. Yeah, as you can see, I think I got the gap up to like 4 seconds, and I wasn't pushing that hard, so it felt pretty comfortable. I was super tired. I've had a fever all night, so I was just praying for the race to be over. Every lap felt like 2, but yeah, really glad to come away with the win, and yeah, I'll just keep the waters into me for the rest of the day, and hopefully we can keep it going.
Yeah, look, P2, you know, it's a good position, that's for sure. Always want to be doing better. Just struggled with a bit of rear end grip through that race at the start there, so I just had to dial the traction control up a bit on the go there, and yeah, Brendan passed me, you know, he's riding the wheels off that thing. You know, Kawasaki's awesome for power, as Lucas knows, so, you know, Brendan's doing an awesome job out there, and I'm sure he'll be hard to beat when he gets his new beast.
I think I burned up a bit of tyre in that one, trying to hang on, so it's good fun riding. It's top conditions out there, and Yeah, had a bit of a giggle along the way because it was some funny watching Swallow there in a couple of turns, pretty loose. It kind of wrecked my run.
So Lucas Vitali has struck first blood in round 4. Can he keep that winning feeling going in race 2, or can the likes of Swallow, McIntyre or Galloway stop his winning ways? Join us on the other side of the break to find out. Welcome back to sunny Queensland Raceway for this, the 4th round of the Swann Super Series, incorporating the bikehaggle.com.au Superbikes. Riders are preparing themselves for race 2, which will get underway shortly, and Brendan McIntyre is certainly a rider to keep an eye out for, as he continues to throw down the gauntlet against Lucas Vitali and Brad Swallow. Becky Lamb caught up with a Suzuki rider earlier today.
Brendan McIntyre currently 4th in the championship in the bikehaggle.com.au Superbike class. Brad Swallow and Lucas Vitali seem to have quite a few battles out there on the track yesterday. Coming into today, what have we got up our sleeve that we can challenge these two in front of you?
I think yesterday watching those two, they were having a little bit of a battle. Lucas in the early laps was probably a bit ragged and open to making a couple of mistakes. I saw Swallow make a few as well, so if they do that again today, my speed keeps building over the weekend. If I'm close enough, I can hold their draft from the start, then I can be in a good position to capitalise if they do muck up. Being that it is 4 long straights here, the horsepower unfortunately does come into play, and the Kawasaki against the old Suzuki is a little bit quicker.
And you've got a new bike at home. You didn't bring it this weekend, but take us through it. It's going to be ready for round 5, is that correct?
Yeah, just on the new bike, I've got to just say a big thank you to Western Motorcycles with the support of Suzuki Australia as well for helping us get started with the new Suzuki GSXR 1000, the new 2017 model. It's an unreal bike, and that's got everything I need for the step forward.
Well, we certainly can't wait for Brendan McIntyre to debut the brand new 2017 model GSXR 1000 at Sydney Motorsport Park in November. It's already proven to be a weapon across the world, and the likes of Vitali, Swallow and others may soon have to watch their backs. Riders are on the track now in readiness for race 2, and as a side note, the remaining 2 races for today have been reduced to 8 laps after heavy rain overnight forced a delay in getting today's racing underway. So here's the grid for race 2. It's Vitali, Swallow, McIntyre and Galloway on the front row, with Ryan Yenko, Dominic De Leon, Michael Edwards and Stuart Fripp occupying the second row. Row 3 has Kelvin Riley, Tim Griffith, Hamish McMurray and Damien Sutton together, with Brett Kitchen rounding out the tail of the field in position number 13. This is Superbike race number 2, brought to you by bikehaggle.com.au. Look for a lightning start from the Kawasaki. Too much air under the front wheel. Vitali gets a drive down to the ground, and here comes Brendan McIntyre up the inside. Will he get the whole shot? No, he won't. It's young Brad Swallow on the Kawasaki Connection ZX10R that leads them.
Yeah, it looks like Vitali's having a big look already to go up the inside of McIntyre. Maybe McIntyre's machines are a little bit less power than the Kawasaki's there, Lance. Maybe a little bit easier to get off the line. But now it's Brad Swallow as they go down the bikehaggle.com.au. But look at that Kawasaki, that at-one pro race suits Kawasaki of Lucas Vitali.
So it's a Kawasaki Connection ZX10R of Brad Swallow that leads them through iPone oils for the first time, followed by the at-one pro race suits Kawasaki ZX10R. Then we have the Western Motorcycles, 7 Friday, Rick Pobjoy Racing, Suzuki Vitali getting out of the seat there, almost jumping onto the Suzuki behind him.
Yeah, look, that's Ryan Yenko. He's got a great start on his Ducati, sitting in 4th position, and there's that Dominic De Leon in 5th. Simon Galloway looks to have a terrible start there further down the field.
Yeah, he missed the start poorly there. Brett Kitchen, he's up into about 8th place at the moment as well, after having started a fair way back down the track in 13th position.
But here comes Brad Swallow and Lucas Vitali. Brendan McIntyre sitting right there as well, waiting for any of these two to make a mistake. But who's going to get under the brakes there as they go into iPone oils?
Well, if we cast our minds back to yesterday as Vitali gets up the inside of Brad Swallow, If we cast our minds back yesterday, race 1 was taken out by Brad Swallow. Race 2 was taken out by Lucas Vitali. Only 2 encounters for the Superbikes. Today, it's different. Vitali victorious in race 1. If Swallow gets race 2, it'll go down to the wire and a battle in race 3 later on.
Yeah, Vitale now in the lead, and you see the chatter on that front wheel as they went into iPone Oils under brakes, using everything he can. But Brad Swallow still there in second spot. Brendan McIntyre pulling a little bit of a gap over Ryan Yanko, who's having a great ride. There is Dominic De Leon. Brett Kitchen up the inside. Is it up the inside of Edwards, yep, but good move there by Edwards gets him back.
Rubbing shoulders, swapping leather brands, and even paints off the fairings. The two of them that close. Brad Swallow, he's not giving up the chase on this one. Looks like the bike is much more settled than race 1 earlier on, Tim.
Yeah, it looks like you've got some great drive coming through Dunlop Sports Max. Let's see who's got the biggest brakes as they come into iPone Oils at the end of bikehaggle.com.au. It's going to be another braking duel. It looks like Brad Swallow up the inside this time around. Can he quite do it? Oh, he's tried very hard. Oh, he's had to pull out then. I think young Brad Swallow. I think Lucas is using a lot of his experience there to not let a little gap form.
I tell you what, the efforts of Brendan McIntyre in third place, you cannot sing his praises highly enough, can you? On a 5-year older bike than the two that are in front of him, and probably about 20-odd horsepower less. He said yesterday in one of his interviews that he was enjoying being in the draft, but can't wait for the new one when it comes Sydney Motorsport Park time later in the year.
Yes, I think those two Kawasaki's may be pulling in his draft, I think, down at that long straight at Sydney Motorsport Park later in the year, but it's still Lucas Vitale got a bit of a gap now. Is that Kelvin Riley up the inside of Dominic De Leon? That's Damien Sutton up the inside of it, and that's Kitchen behind them.
Yeah, he's saying, look, I'm sorry about that. I really didn't mean to hurt you like that, so come on past me. It looks like he might have even had some problems with the bike, and that may have been the cause of why he actually balked them the way that he did.
Yeah, it looks like
rather
Brett
unusual
Kitchen,
though, wasn't it?
Yeah, Brett Kitchen's taken advantage of whatever happened there. Hamish McMurray's there as well.
Brett Kitchen's a little bit further up the field, I think you'll find. That's not him that's actually on screen there with him, is it? It's,
that's Tim Griffith.
Tim Griffith,
yeah, so
they look very similar liveries and what have you.
Yeah, that's right. I just missed the yellow helmet of Brett Kitchen, but there it is. Simon Galloway has pulled into the pits, so he's had an issue.
Well, let's have a look at an earlier pass on how it happened for first and second place. Down the back straight, the bikehaggle.com.au back straight.
Just watch the front wheel there, Lance. It's shattering like nothing else, isn't it? Pushing very hard on that front suspension under brakes, Lucas Vitale.
Up the inside, of course, of Brad Swallow, and right behind him was Brendan McIntyre. There is Brett Kitchen.
Yep, right behind Dominic De Leon, having a great battle there between them.
The BMW up the inside of the Kawasaki at the end of the Swann Insurance main straight, and through Matrice Dampers, gains about 2 bike lengths lead on Dominic De Leon that time.
Yeah, Edwards behind them, having a good race there. Edwards on his Yamaha, but Brett Kitchen, he's had a lot of track time this weekend doing multiple classes, so he'd be right in the race. But here comes De Leon, having another look. He's not having any of this on the at-1 pro race suit Kawasaki.
Brett Kitchen leaning over nice and early, trying to get the drive down to the ground on the BMW. The Accountable IT BMW. Got the horsepower, got the mumbo jumbo, opens up another 2 or 3 bike lengths lead on De Leon at the end of Dunlop, entering into Sydney Motorsport Park ride days.
As we just saw it, here they come again. It's like Lucas Vitale and Brad Swallow. Vitale outbroke himself there through races.world, which has opened up the gap there for Brad Swallow. That's all he might need there. It's only half race distance. Someone's gone off the circuit as well. They're throwing up some dust. But Brad Swallow now taking over the lead from Lucas Vitale, and he's got a bit of a gap too now, Lance.
Well, it may well be Lucas Vitale's to lose as we have a look at a replay of that incident coming down the end of bikebiz.com.au. Tries to back it in, just gets the bike unsettled. Luckily, it's fairly wide there, Tim, on the exit because of the pit access road off to the left-hand side. Otherwise, he could have found himself in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, he was very lucky to stay on the circuit. Just stayed on the asphalt there, but it's given Brad Swallow a bit of a sniff out in front, and I don't think you need to give young Brad any more than that, because now he's pulled out a bit of a gap from Lucas Vitale. It's open to 0.3 of a second, but it's definitely bigger than that now.
Talking to Matt Waters out of the Kawasaki Connection group earlier on today, and asked him how Brad was, and he said he'll be on the pace today. He's determined, he'll challenge, he'll be at the front of the pack, and he's certainly rewarding the team with the effort so far.
Yeah, excellent work by the Kawasaki Connection team from Cessnock. But Brad Swallow now out in front from Lucas Vitale, Brendan McIntyre. There's Dominic De Leon, there's Brett Kitchen. Edwards has got the better of Dominic De Leon, so Dominic's gone back a bit, and here comes Stuart Fripp on his R1 Yamaha as well. So
out of turn 6 for the run down the Swann Insurance main straight, this battle. And it looked like there, I think that was Dominic De Leon actually pointing down to something to his team on the side. Oh, there's been a problem there for Brad Swallow, obviously.
Yeah, Brad Swallow's definitely lost a lot of ground there. He was that far ahead of Lucas Vitale last time around, but definitely a bit of a mistake for the Kawasaki Connection rider. But closes right down into iPhone Oils. Lucas Vitale now back in the lead with 1.5 laps to go.
Well, that could be the undoing of Brad Swallow as we take a replay here of the incident that has caused it, again through Dunlop. Wow, a lot of riders having problems there out of the saddle. That certainly was a heart stopper for young Brad Swallow.
Yes, we saw a couple of classes there now. Lance had a bit of issues coming out of Dunlop Sports Specs, and now Brad Swallow trying very hard there, backing it in. You better watch out because McIntyre's right there now after these two have been battling it out, and any small mistake, you think that Brendan's going to take it.
Well, he's not on the dirt track practicing back home up in Newcastle at the moment. He's on the tarmac here at Queensland Raceway, but one could be forgiven for thinking otherwise the way he tried to back that one in. Vitale, Swallow, McIntyre, Yanko and Kitchen is your order as they head out on their final lap.
Yeah, we just saw Stuart Fripp got the better of Dominic De Leon, so Dominic's gone down to 8th position, so he wouldn't be very happy with that. But here they come into iPhone Oils for the last time. Look at Lucas Vitale, very defensive line, but Brad Swallow, you can tell he's going to have a go somewhere on this last half a lap.
Well, he certainly needs the points, Tim. There's no doubt about that. He needs to finish in front of Vitale if he's really going to take this home in the final couple of rounds down at Sydney Motorsport Park. He needs to try and win this round here this weekend as Brad Swallow. Of course, remembering back to the broken chain incident in round 1 earlier. Here he comes up the inside
have a big look
now.
here.
He's got the drive. He's going to have a look. He's going to force Vitale wide. If he can keep the line nice and tight, it will be Brad Swallows to win. It'll be a horsepower race down to the checkered flag. Kawasaki against Kawasaki. What a great ride from Brad Swallow, leaving his best to last.
What a manoeuvre there. You could see he was going to pull a manoeuvre somewhere around the circuit. Here comes Brett Kitchen onto the Swann Insurance main straight. Another great ride by Brett. Yanko crosses the line in 4th position, just in front of Brett Kitchen. Edwards crosses the line.
Let's have a replay of this. Let's look at this, the way that he just powered himself out of turn 5 for the run down the internal back straight, down into Races.World, turn 6, kept it nice and tight, forced Vitale to try and get the power down to the ground early, and that gave him the wobbles that he finishes in 2nd behind Brad Swallow. Brendan McIntyre, another creditable ride on the Suzuki in 3rd place. Ryan Yanko, Brett Kitchen, Michael Edwards, Stuart Fripp, Dominic De Leon, Tim Griffith and Hamish McMurray rounding up your top 10.
P2 in the first race, always wanting to improve, and I have done. Chris has done an awesome job giving him the feedback that I've given him, and he's made something of it, and so he's put me up on top, so kudos to Chris.
Thought I'd done enough and covered the line enough, but he put himself in a place where I had nowhere to go, but just sort of let him do it. So, yeah, it was all good. I made it hard for myself, just silly errors, and never really got into a rhythm. So, he rode a really good race to do that. I'm sure that was his aim, to sort of rough me up a bit and sort of hold on to me. So, yeah, for the next one, I think I'll just try and focus on not making silly mistakes and just ride my own race.
Podium's a podium, I'll take it. 3rd place. Look, I did everything I could do. I left nothing out there. And I was definitely in the hunt. I was right on their wheels. So, what can I say? I did all I could. And there was a few errors by them. I wasn't able to capitalise on them. But, doing what I can.
So like yesterday, it's one win apiece between Lucas Vitale and Brad Swallow. But with one race remaining, we'll find out later who'll come out on top. Right now, though, it's time for the Stars of Tomorrow standalone race. The Stars of Tomorrow is open for all C and D grade riders across all of our classes in the Swann Super Series. It gives them the opportunity for not only more track time, but also for them the chance to show their wares on an even playing field.
Getting the best of the start there, looked like it was Paul Curran, our pole sitter. A couple of them getting very slow starts mid-pack though, Tim.
Yeah, Tim Griffith got a terrible start there. It looks like the front wheel came up and had to back off momentarily, which lost him a lot of drive off the line there. So a lot of work to do by Tim on his ZX 10R.
In the meantime, though, Paul Curran it's opened up a very commanding lead by standards early on in this 7-lap race as he heads the field down bikehaggle.com.au for the first time into iPone Oils.
Yes, a big lead for the first lap of the race here. It looks like he's at number 33. That's Hamish McMurray's. He's had a great start there. So he started in 9th position and he's moved up into 2nd on half a lap.
Likewise, I think you'll find Will Stewart's up there at the pointy end of the field as well. So they started off the 3rd row of the grid and doing a great job to be up there battling it out so far.
Yeah, but it's all Curran at the moment. He's pulled a big lead so far with 3/4 of a lap run of this race here, but looks like McMurray's just been overtaken by, is it Kavanagh there on his machine there, Lance? Can't quite see that number, but it's a big field of races here.
You also find that I think Stephanie Redmond was up there. No, maybe not Stephanie Redmond, I beg your pardon. She was in the last race. She was entered in this one. So it's Curran, Griffith, McMurray, Ryan was the one that I was looking at, the number 39. And then we have Melina, Brumby, Mulcahy, Ernest, McCartan and Hoare rounding up your top 10.
Yes, a lot of different riding styles here, and as you said, they get a stand-alone C and D grade race to show their wares, but it's all Curran at the moment showing them the way around this Queensland Raceway.
Well, I've got to say, Shane Ryan started in 18th position, up to 4th already at the end of lap 1. Hamish McMurray, likewise in 9th, up into 3rd. Great effort.
Yeah, big move there by Mulcahy up the inside of Brumby. The ZX6 and the GSXR 600 are having a great battle there, even the Super Sport honours for this race. But Mary Molina is sitting in 5th position, holding out those two 600 machines.
On the 2nd lap now of 7, Curran, Griffith, McMurray, Ryan, Molina, Brumby, Mulcahy, Ernest, McCartan, Hoare, Broderick, and there's the top 11 riders.
Yes, I think that's the field there, Lance. And a couple of these riders here are the AM Sport 600s, and they get another go later on today. So they could have like 5 races today, Lance. So that's a big effort for those C and D grade riders.
He was forced a little bit wide, but he certainly cut back well and got the drive out of there, but just lost it on overall top-end speed at the end of the Swann Insurance Main Straight.
Yes, half race distance completed, so it's still a bit of time for more manoeuvres to be undertaken there, but at the moment there's still a good battle here between Mulcahy and Brumby for 6th and 7th.
Down the bikehaggle.com.au back straight, heading into iPone Oils, turn number 3. Just looking down on the front of his bike there was the number 32 of McCulhey.
Yes, it looked like he was braking that hard. The back wheel was coming off the ground too, so he's trying very hard on that ZX6R.
But it's all Paul Curran out in front at the moment on the BMW S1000RR. Tim Griffith in 2nd on the Kawasaki ZX10R. Likewise mounted Hamish McMurray on board machine number 33.
Yeah, good to see Hamish sitting in that podium position there, but a good ride by him, having a bit of time out there on his black and orange livered ZX10Rs. But Tim Griffith still in 2nd and Curran in 3rd.
Just doesn't seem right. Black and orange livered ZX10R. It should be green.
They should all be green.
All be green.
Yes, that's right. But here comes Curran on his BMW. He's having a good ride there. Got the lead at the start of the race and then has not let it go. But look at these two riders. That is Mulcahy and Brumby have caught Molina.
Yeah, Molina's under a bit of pressure now. I said that it was a bit of a lonely old ride, but that's not going to be the case now in the last couple of laps, is it?
Yeah,
no real advantage there, was there?
Learning their racecraft as they go there, but a good ride by these 3 riders. Oh, a big move there by Mulcahy. Slowed right down to Molina there. I don't think Mulcahy was ready for that manoeuvre there and balked him a little bit.
Yeah, I think momentarily Molina lost the front end on the braking of turn 3, the iPone Oils corner. He's now within pouncing distance, Mulcahy.
Yeah, she's going to have a big look up the inside. Here he goes, number 32 on that ZX6R. Big move up there going into races.world.
Good effort from him, isn't it? The last couple of laps, he's just chipped away and chipped away.
Went a little bit wide. I thought Molina could have had a look up the inside there, but now it looks like Molina's got a hands full with Brumby closing right down on his GSX-R 600.
Yeah, Brumby's been watching in the background there, hasn't he? Looking for a mistake from either or both of them to pounce on the opportunity. He's coming on strong in this final lap up to the rear cowling of Molina.
But it looked like Molina's actually closed down too on Mulcahy, so it's going to be a race to the line for sure for these three riders.
Yeah, Mary Molina unfortunately went a little bit wide mid-corner there in iPhone oils.
But here comes our Curran, the leader of our race. He's going to line up to take the checkered flag in the Stars of Tomorrow race there. A great effort by Curran on his S1000 double R BMW.
The Kawasaki of Tim Griffiths just takes the checkered flag as well in second. Hamish McMurray comes across the line on his Kawasaki for third.
Shane Ryan, Keith Mulcahy, Mary Molina, Nathan Brumby, Daniel McCartan, Brooke Ernest and Keith Hall rounding out the top 10.
Yes, tough conditions this morning, but thankfully it picked up this afternoon for our first race, so I'm very happy with my result today. And I just like to thank everybody in my pit crew who helped me today, Charlie and my girlfriend Amanda, and everyone at Pinot Noir Accommodation in Jindabyne.
There's still more racing to come on the other side of this break, with race 3 of the bikehaggle.com.au Superbikes coming your way soon. Thanks for joining us again at Queensland Raceway as we continue our coverage of round 4 of the Swann Super Series. Race 3 of the bikehaggle.com.au Superbikes is set to get underway shortly, and they include the 3 @1 Pro Race Suits Kawasaki's of Lucas Vitali, Damien Sutton and the team principal himself, Dominic De Leon. Becky Lamb caught up with Dominic and asked him about the challenges of running a multi-bike team in the Swann Super Series.
Obviously, this track at QR is a lot different to Sydney Motorsport Park. A lot less undulation here, and a lot more corner speed needs to be taken. Take us through that for you and the fitness and competitive component that you require.
Well, at Sydney Motorsport Park is such a flowing track. You know, it's fast as well, but it's really flowing and not as demanding on the brakes. Where this track, you're on the brakes or you're on the throttle. You know, so it's a lot of and no time to rest. You know, so you're coming out from turn 2, going down to turn 3 thinking, let me just rest my hand. And then when you think it, you had to hit your brakes, so you have no time to rest. So it's a very demanding track.
Now, off the track, most people don't know that you actually are a team principal of @1 Racing, which has 5 bikes here this weekend. So obviously it's demanding on track for you as well as off track. So how does that change for you over the weekend?
Well, it changes a lot because last year, after doing the CND and winning that championship and whatever, I decided to start a little team. So I decided to approach Lucas if he wanted to start a team, and woke up next morning, I had 5 bikes in the team. So a lot changed with regards to logistics, whereas before it was just me and my bike and Alex and Mick Pointing when we up here. Whereas this year, the logistics to get all the bikes, all the equipment, all the carpets, the panels, all these things, because I want to give back to my sponsors. I want to, give them value for what they're putting into the team as well. So, I'm lucky enough to have, Michael O'Brien and Stuart Haggle with as the guys who, run with that for me. They ask me what I want to get done, and they look after it, and I could rest assured they'll get it done. So that takes a lot of load off my shoulders, so I could concentrate on riding.
Round 4 of the Swann Super Series, race 3 of the bikehaggle.com.au Superbikes. They are the brand new place to sell and buy a motorcycle, and a reminder that as an introductory offer, you can advertise your bike for free for a limited time, whether it be bike, whether it be parts, whether it be old or whether it be new. You can put it on bikehaggle.com.au. Have a look at the grid here for Superbike race number 3. Brad Swallow victorious on the last encounter. He occupies P1. Alongside of him on the front row, Lucas Vitali, Brendan McIntyre and Ryan Yanko. Kitchen, Edwards, Fripp, and then on the next one was Dominic De Leon. In the starter's hands, a great start there from Ryan Yanko. off the extreme inside, but I don't know that they're going to beat Brad Swallow down. Yes, he will. Yanko it is that leads. Swallow in second, McIntyre third. Looks like Lucas Vitale's been relegated back to fourth in the early stages, Tim.
Yeah, that's the furthest we've seen Lucas back there. But at the moment there, Ryan Yanko using the additional torque of that big 1200cc machine to get off the line.
Here comes Yanko up the inside of Swallow, or is it Swallow round the outside of Yanko? The Kawasaki Connection ZX-10R leads at turn 3 on lap number 1. Everybody getting through there safely. Lucas Vitale getting the upper hand of Brendan McIntyre and now of Yanko, and catapults himself right up onto the rear wheel of Brad Swallow.
Yeah, I was about to say that being behind Yanko could give Swallow a bit of an advantage, but gee, under brakes then, Lucas Vitale was amazing.
Yeah, now Yanko taking advantage of that, trying to get up the inside of Vitale at the end of bikebiz.com.au, and Brendan McIntyre wants to make it a three-peat of podiums for his Western Motorcycles 7 Friday Rick Popjoy Suzuki.
Yeah, out of the seat there, Brendan is trying very hard, but look at Lucas Vitale. He does not want to let Brad Swallow get another win this weekend, but they've swapped wins in the first 2 races. So they've had 2 second places and 2 wins this weekend.
Very squirrely underpower the Kawasaki then, Tim.
Yes, they're trying very hard, and this will probably be the third race on these tyres, so it's all going to depend who's can serve them the best.
And look at Brendan McIntyre up the inside of Ryan Yanko at the end of Haggle.com.au.
Didn't really give him an option then, did he, Ryan Yanko? Brendan McIntyre definitely wanted to catch these front runners at the moment, and by the looks of things, he is doing that.
Well, he doesn't want to get involved in a battle for third place. He wants to concentrate on consolidating third place and chasing down Brad Swallow and Ryan Yanko, and Lucas Vitale. Ryan Yanko, of course, back there in 4th place. A good battle between Edwards and Kitchen. I think Kitchen's just got the upper hand, has he? No, it's not.
I think that was Simon Galloway.
Galloway,
yeah,
Simon was too, yeah.
Had a come from nowhere, Simon Galloway.
Somebody going off the side of the track there. Oh, bad luck for that rider. I think you'll find that may have been, was it Griffith?
Yeah, it looks like it could be Griffith on his ZX-10 there. Lance hasn't crossed the line as yet, so it's probably Tim and Griffith at the end of there. But look at Vitale at the moment. Look at McIntyre right on the back wheel now of Brad Swallow's Kawasaki. He's not leaving anything. This is probably the last time he's going to ride this bike too, Lance, so he's going to get everything he can out of it.
Oh, Lucas Vitale getting very unsettled under brakes. Brendan McIntyre taking an extremely wide entry into iPane Oils. Let's have a look at a replay of what happened here. Just going straight ahead. Looks like an engine lock up there for the 18 of Tim Griffith. He needs to latch onto the rear of Brad Swallow on the exit of Dunlop Supermax or Sportmax. Can't do it though. You can see the way the Kawasaki just opens up those legs.
Looks like Simon Galloway just back there was about to get one over Ryan Yanko as well. So someone's coming through the field, getting some more valuable points.
Down Dunlop, heading in towards Sydney Motorsport Park Ride Days. This is the battle for second place. You can forget about Lucas Vitale. He's off with the fairies in front.
He's got 1.1 second lead now over Brad Swallow, and that's it's going to take a lot of work for Swallow and even McIntyre to get anywhere near him at the moment. We're half race distance.
So Vitale is 1.2 seconds nearly ahead of Swallow. McIntyre not that far behind him. Ryan Yanko, Simon Galloway coming on very strongly.
Yeah, very good ride there by Simon, starting from the rear of the field by not finishing the last race there. But is Simon going to have a big look up the inside? No, that's Ducati of Yanko's is very fast.
Whatever setup problems Simon Galloway has had, he seems to have overcome those, and physically it doesn't seem as though he's struggling at all.
Yeah, Simon seems to come good at the end of the races, doesn't he? He seems to be building up and then show his best performance later on in the race, and another drag down the end.
Up the inside, the Chris Watson Motorcycles Yamaha up the inside of the number 82. Can't do it though. Not quite close enough, Tim.
We've seen how hard Yanko can break into that corner in the Pro Twins with his back wheel about a foot off the ground, but Simon Galloway couldn't get anywhere closer to him. But here comes McIntyre right closing down onto Swallow.
Brad Swallow circumspect on his line on the exit of Sydney Motorsport Park ride days, so he can get the best drive down bikebiz.com.au.
Defensive line too by Swallow then, not giving McIntyre any look in. It looks like McIntyre is the smoother of the two riders at the moment as Vitale crosses the line.
The end of the Swann Insurance main straight leading into Matrice Dampers. Brad Swallow very wide, a much narrower line by the Suzuki rider Brendan McIntyre.
Yes, that bike is definitely set up well. He's maybe losing a little bit down in top speed and horsepower, but gee, it's handling quite well.
Not a maybe, I think it's a slam dunk. Yeah. Slam Desire, whatever they call it, is definitely down on horsepower. Here comes Galloway trying to get up the inside of Yanko. Can't do it again. Just doesn't quite have the legs, does he, Tim, down that back straight?
No, that Ducati is definitely fast, and 1200cc machine getting the torque to the ground. But here he comes now.
Oh, just can't seem to take that little bit of extra, can he?
He's trying very hard at the moment, Simon Galloway, to trying to get some valuable points for his championship. But at the moment, it is all Lucas Vitale. But here he goes now. Gee, it looks like
Yanko up the inside of him.
May have missed a gear or something there, Yanko, the way that Galloway came past.
Kabuto 5B to Pork Hides, Ducati 1199 versus Chris Watson Motorcycles, Yamaha. Look at this, Suzuki against Kawasaki. Who's that? Is that Dominic De Leon pulling off to the side?
Gee, I'm not quite sure if it was Dominic De Leon. I think it was, yes, it was Dominic. It wasn't Lucas.
Yeah, Lucas is still way out in front of this pair, but what a great run there by Brendan McIntyre on Brad Swallow.
Gee, he's riding fantastic this weekend, Brendan McIntyre. He'll be, waiting in anticipation. But once again, that Kawasaki is very, very quick.
If you have to give an award for man of the match for the weekend, you'd have to give it to Brendan McIntyre. For his determination in riding.
Consistency is going very well, and he'll be licking his lips about getting his hands on that new Suzuki, because they won't have it all their own way in the last round, the fifth and sixth rounds later on in the year.
He's trying very hard to overcome the efforts of Brad Swallow, who in turn I think has reserved himself to the fact, both of these actually have reserved themselves to the fact that they're not going to beat Lucas Vitale. He's just too strong, isn't he?
Yeah, he's too strong in the last race of the day. He's not letting Brad get anywhere near him, and Brendan's trying very hard. Well, they'll get the last lap board as they cross the line this time. Lucas has crossed the line. Here comes Brad Swallow and Brendan McIntyre. One more lap for the Superbikes this round 4 at Queensland Raceway. Has Brendan McIntyre got anything under the tank of that Suzuki?
Well, we can only wait to find out in about 3/4 of a lap time as they head out of turn number 2. Dunlop Sportsmax for the run down the bike. Haggle.com.au back straight for the final time. McIntyre trying to slipstream Swallow. The Kawasaki Connection ZX10R just too dominant in the top end speed over the Western Motorcycles 7 Friday Rick Pobjoy Suzuki.
Yeah, it looks like he's got a bit of an advantage now as they go into Sydney Motorsport Park ride days for the last time. You think Brendan McIntyre may have settled for third spot, but Brad Swallow has they both had no answer to Lucas Vitale's dominance of this race. 3.6 second lead last time around, but another very defensive line there by Brad Swallow coming into races.world.
Checkered flag on display. Very homely. At one race suits Kawasaki ZX10R of Lucas Vitale ahead of the Kawasaki Connection ZX10R of Brad Swallow. The Western Motorcycles Suzuki of Brendan McIntyre finishes in third. Simon Galloway on board his Chris Watson Motorcycles Yamaha doing a great job to get just ahead of Ryan Yanko on his Ducati 1199. Edwards, Kitchen and Fripp rounding up your top 8. Good rivalry, good camaraderie and good sportsmanship.
I was just keeping my eye on Brad. I knew that he was going to take off, so I just did my best. Unfortunately for Brendan and Yanko, his first name's slipped my mind. The Ducati and the Suzuki are a bit underpowered, so I could just ride straight past them and focus on Brad. Once I got ahead, I just tried to make sure I didn't make any mistakes and didn't get tangled up in a battle, and it all turned out pretty well.
Yeah, look, stoked with the position that we're in. The team's performed awesome. You know, it's as much as I'm out there riding it, you know, it's the team and all the sponsors that get us out here. You know, can't thank them enough. Chris Jones is doing an awesome job. Matt Walters has also been out here this weekend helping us. So, yeah, it's very much a team effort, and I can't thank them all enough. Luke's has done an awesome job riding this weekend. He just had bolted then in that last race, so that's all right. We'll come back at Eastern Creek and see how we can go there.
I'd like to think that I made them work for it. I was certainly working, that's for sure. If I can step onto the new bike and do what I'm doing on that one, I think we're in a good position. So that was probably the most comfortable I've been on the bike for a long time, and playing with the lighten up the back tyre to help turn the bike, and just lots of different bits and pieces. I can't thank Rick Popjoy Racing enough for giving me a bike that I can just do what I want on it.
So after sharing the spoils of victory with Brad Swallow in round 3, Lucas Vitali reigns supreme in round 4. He retains his championship lead over Swallow, with the gap now increasing to 20 points. A trio of third places sees Brendan McIntyre move into third, ahead of injured Simon Galloway, with Dominic de Leon still in 5th. Damien Sutton is still on top of the pops in Formula Oz A grade, as is Tim Griffith in the Formula Extreme C and D grade. Well, the next time the bikehaggle.com.au Superbikes go racing will be at Sydney Motorsport Park for the final 2 rounds of the season on the 4th and 5th of November. But we still have loads of racing to come here at Queensland Raceway, with the 4th round of the Matrice Dampers Super Sport and Am Sport 600s part and parcel of the Swann Super Series. Join us then.